Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the story of ancient Egypt. And it's a story that starts somewhere totally unexpected. See, this civilization wasn't born in a timeless desert, it was forged by the death of a brine paradise. Yeah, it all kicks off with a massive climate shift that literally changed the world.
Okay, when you picture ancient Egypt, what comes to mind? Go ahead, really think about it. I'm betting you're seeing vast, rolling sand dunes, right? Maybe the mysterious Sphinx, and of course, those incredible Great Pyramids just dominating a desert sky. But what if I told you that's not the whole story? I mean, not even close.
See, the Egypt that actually gave birth to this legendary civilization, it looked nothing like the one we know today. We're talking 10,000 years ago, and North Africa was, well, it was a green paradise. It was lush, wet, dotted with lakes, the perfect spot for hunter-gatherers. But yeah, that was all about to change. And I mean dramatically.
So our story really begins not with kings and pharaohs, but with the collapse of an entire ecosystem. This is all about a huge, devastating environmental shift, one that basically forced humanity into a corner: adapt or disappear.
You have to imagine, for the people living in this green paradise, this was an absolute existential crisis. This great drying, it turned their whole world into the Sahara Desert we see today. It pushed them out of their homes, their ancestral lands, and forced them to find a completely new way to survive.
So, as the world is literally turning to desert all around them, these displaced people, they find refuge. They find it in one single remarkable place, a lifeline, really, that was about to become the cradle of their entire civilization.
And that refuge, that was the Nile River Valley. Just this long, thin strip of pure fertility, cutting right through the brand new desert. The Nile, it wasn't just a river. It was this vibrant ribbon of life in a world that was dying. It was the only thing standing between survival and just endless sand.
Yeah, this idea of Egypt as an island is absolutely crucial. Think about it. The deserts all around acted like a natural wall, protecting it from invasion. This let a really unique culture develop, pretty much in isolation. But the Nile itself, well, it offered an even bigger advantage.
So if you look at a place like Mesopotamia, their rivers, the Tigris and Euphrates, had these violent, unpredictable, destructive floods. A total nightmare. But the Nile? Its flood was like clockwork. Seriously, so predictable. Every single year, it would gently overflow its banks and leave behind this layer of rich, black silt that made the land insanely fertile. And that predictability, that's what made large-scale agriculture not just possible, but super reliable.
And because of all this reliable food, people could finally settle down and really thrive. And over thousands of years, that's a long time. Two separate kingdoms popped up along the banks of this river, each with its own unique culture, its own traditions.
Okay, but with success comes new problems, right? As these two kingdoms grew bigger and more complex, they had to face a new question. How do you actually manage all these people? How do you build something that's going to last?
All right, so around 3150 BCE, something huge was brewing. A massive political shift was on the horizon, one that was about to set the course for the next 3,000 years of Egyptian history. No big deal.
And here's what happened. A powerful, ambitious king from Upper Egypt, that's the south, marched north and conquered Lower Egypt. He brought the two lands together under one single crown. And that one act, that right there, laid the entire political foundation for the civilization we know as ancient Egypt.
But who was this legendary unifier? This is where history gets a little fuzzy. Was it a king named Normer or a king named Menes? You see, different ancient sources give us different names. And for a long time, historians were scratching their heads, debating which one was the real deal.
Well, it turns out many scholars now believe they were probably the same person, Menes and Narmer, one and the same. So look, the name isn't the most important part. The crucial thing is that one visionary leader brought the two lands together. This kicked off what we call the early dynastic period and created a single powerful kingdom that would last for ages.
Okay, so you've unified the state, great. But how do you hold it all together? You need some powerful ideas, some powerful tools. And the early Egyptians developed these three key pillars that would basically support their entire civilization.
Pillar number one, the pharaoh. Now, this wasn't just a king. The pharaoh was seen as a god on earth. The title itself actually means big house, which points to the royal palace being the absolute center of everything, the hub for running the whole kingdom, from collecting taxes to organizing massive building projects.
Pillar number 2, the concept of Ma'at. This is a big one. It's the core belief that the universe is supposed to be orderly, balanced, and just. It's a really optimistic worldview, especially compared to their neighbors. And where did it come from? Well, it was a direct reflection of the predictable, harmonious, life-giving cycles of the Nile.
And pillar number 3? Hieroglyphics. The Egyptians called this the God's Words, and it was this incredibly sophisticated, beautiful writing system, and it was absolutely essential for everything, running the government, recording history, and writing down all their sacred beliefs.
And they even wrapped all these ideas up into one big foundational story, the myth of Osiris. It's amazing how perfectly it mirrors their world. You have Osiris, who represents the Nile. He's murdered by his jealous brother Seth, who is the destructive desert wind. But then Osiris's wife Isis, who is the fertile earth, brings him back to life. Their son Horus becomes the living king, the pharaoh, ensuring that this whole cycle of death and rebirth just keeps on going.
So now you've got it all: a stable, unified state, a powerful belief system to hold it all together. The Egyptians were now ready to do something big, to embark on some of the most ambitious construction projects in the history of the world.
This new era is what we call the Old Kingdom, and it's famous for one thing, really. It's the age of the pyramid builders. But you have to remember, these weren't just cool monuments. They were massive, eternal tombs built for the pharaohs. They were literally designed to be their homes for all eternity.
But why? I mean, why go to such incredible, almost insane lengths to build these things and preserve the physical body? The answer isn't just about showing off power or ego. It's way deeper than that. It's all rooted in their really complex and fascinating beliefs about the soul and what happens after we die. Okay, so this is the key to understanding everything: mummification, the pyramids, all of it. The Egyptians believed the soul had multiple parts. Two of them, the Ka and the Ba, were spiritual essences, but they needed to return to the physical body every single night. So, if the body decayed or wasn't protected in its tomb, the soul's entire journey into the afterlife would fail. It was that serious. So let's just recap this incredible journey on the timeline. It all starts way back before 6000 BCE with people living all across a green Sahara. Then, climate change hits, the desert forms, and forces everyone to the banks of the Nile. This leads directly to the unification of the kingdom around 3150 BCE, and from that powerful new foundation, the Old Kingdom kicks off around 2613 BCE, and with it, the age of the pyramid builders. It's such a powerful story of how a civilization is literally forged by its environment.
When you really think about it, the Egyptian civilization was the child of two parents, the generous, predictable Nile and the harsh, unforgiving Sahara. And that just leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? How much is our own world being shaped right now by the environments we can and maybe can't control? Thanks so much for watching this explainer.